In this video, we're going to teach you the 5 most common golf injuries that golf beginners make, how to fix them, and how to prevent those injuries with our CPGA coach James and golf physiotherapist Wyatt. When people make injuries in golf, how severe can these injuries get?
Well, especially for the lower back, it's quite common. That's the number one spot that you'll experience low back pain in. And the biggest reason is the lower back, it's meant to be a stable joint. It's not meant to be rotating. That's where we're gonna get a lot of our rotation from the hips and from our torso. So when we get a lot of rotation from the lower back, that's where we can run into some pain and some trouble.
Right. Okay, so let's start with our first injury, and we're talking about lower back. James, when you're coaching golf, why do you think lower back injuries occur?
I believe the student that has a lower back injury that usually swings with the reverse spine angle, which means when you're at the top of the backswing, your spine is tilted the other way. And another common mistake is when they're at the impact position, they have a huge early extension, which means their hip moves forward like this. And another issue is they have a S-curve. So when they're on their setup position, their hip shapes like this, like a S-curve, instead of keeping it straight. So I think those students who have those swing characteristic has a lower back pain.
Yeah. And usually when they're doing these swings and they're starting to get pain, do they know to stop doing that or they just keep doing it?
Oh, of course I tell them to stop. I tell them to not do those movements. I give them a little bit of drill.
Why do these pains specifically occur in these motions, and how can we prevent them and fix them?
Yeah, that's a great question. In those positions that James was talking about, so whether it's the S-curve, maybe it's that reverse spine angle, we're getting a lot of compression, extension, side bending into the lower back, and that can kind of jam up the joints or create some tension in the muscles. So I'll show you a stretch that's really good just to kind of open up the muscles in the lower back and just to help with reducing the pain that you might be feeling.
Well, before we start getting into exercises, let's just talk about the common sense of this pain, right? So you said it's a compression and jamming up the muscles. When people are doing it and it feels like that, how do they know that it's the wrong feeling to have? When should they stop?
So if we take a right-handed golfer, for example, if they're swinging repetitively and they're starting to feel some tightness in the right side of their lower back, or even some stiffness when they're moving, then that's a sign that, hey, maybe you need to go work with a golf coach or come to a physio to work on prevention of the injury.
Right. Well, how do we know the difference between the stiffness of soreness versus injury?
Soreness is going to be more of a pain type feeling. Stiffness is going to be more of like a jamming, hard to move type feeling, so less range of motion. Okay,
I see. All right, so what exercises can we do to prevent and fix this first injury?
Yeah, so great one. I'll show you guys here on the squat rack. This is one of my favorite exercises to do to help with low back pain. So I'll show you, this is going to target more on the left side of our back. You're gonna stand next to a door frame where I got a squat rack over here. I have my right foot forward, I'm gonna bring my left foot behind, and then I'm just gonna get the left foot pointing about 45 degrees out. And then from here, what I'll do is I'm just gonna reach my left hand over towards the squat rack. That's gonna help create a nice stretch just along the lats into my quadratus lumborum muscle in the lower back there. If this is enough of a stretch, I'll just kind of hold and keep that position. But what's nice is you can add a little bit more of a stretch by taking your hand, placing it on your pelvis, and then starting to push the pelvis away. This will create a bit more of a gapping or a bit more of a stretch in the lower back there. The other thing that you can do as well is you can take your chest and then start to rotate it down towards the floor. You'll feel that stretch change from the side more into that lower back area.
I feel it on my lats too.
How do they know when to do just this stretch and when to start rotating?
Yeah, so if you are someone that's feeling more tension around the lats, for example, then I would focus more on that side bend position. If I'm someone who is feeling more of that straining, that tightness or soreness in that lower back, then that's where I'll start to add that rotation just to target that lower back more.
So I guess people can just move around naturally until they find where they hit that position there.
Yeah, until you feel like a nice good stretch.
And how much should they stretch for? in this type of injury or prevention. So is this more on the injury side or the prevention side right now?
This one is more for if you're in pain, and then it's to help to reduce the pain.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So how much should they stretch once they're in pain?
So this one you can try to do for like a 30 to 60 second hold. You want to try to do this like 3 times a day. You do about 3 repetitions. So you're doing 30, 60 second hold, take a break.
I mean, take a break and do it
Another
again,
30, 60
but
second hold.
not in the throughout the whole day.
In that one time.
And that one time. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's nice if you can do it throughout the day as well, because then it gives you a chance just to work on stretching out that muscle throughout the whole day.
Oh, okay.
Right. And for people who aren't injured already, is this still a good exercise to do to prevent injury? Because you're overall creating more mobility, which creates less compression.
100%. This is a great exercise to do just for injury prevention for lower back pain too.
Right. Now that we've covered the lower back, what is our second most common injury for beginner golfers?
Second one is the upper back.
Upper
So
back.
right here.
Okay.
So for right-handed golfers, they usually have a back pain on the upper back, like lat area. So I believe when my students start doing a chicken wing, I think that's what causes that, especially when you're swinging in a very high speed and you keep pulling your left arm like this.
And
you
this
put
is
a lot of
causes
stain on your
here, right?
on your upper back and on your lats.
It's a very odd muscle placement.
specific.
Like it's not, you wouldn't get this in other sports. This kind of movement here
like
as an
it's
injury.
chicken wing, right?
Oh,
So
interesting.
you're supposed to like rotate your body like this, but their body's kind of restricted. They stop their body and they just keep swinging like this.
Yeah.
So if you do that for like 100 swing a day, then you're gonna have a.
What exercise can we do to prevent and fix this type of injury?
Yeah, so that's a great one. I'll grab a foam roller. I'll show you guys on the floor.
Okay.
The reason why you see that chicken wing is because the golfer might not be having rotation in the torso. So to prevent and to help with that pain in the shoulder, we want to try to improve that rotation in your upper back. So a great one you can do is called thread the needle. You can do this one on the floor with the foam roller. So I'll get on my hands and knees in this position. You'll see a lot of golfers with pain on the left side, the right-handed golfer. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up the foam roller on this side. This is to help the left side shoulder. I'm going to put my left hand on top of the foam roller here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the foam roller away as I bring my shoulder towards the floor. This is going to give you a nice stretch just along the torso or the upper back, and it's going to give you a nice stretch just along the back of the shoulder here. And then I'll just come back into that start position and then push away.
So how is this exercise different from the stretch where people can just slide directly on the ground and put their body weight on this arm?
So that's going to be more of a strain or more of a load along the shoulder. Versus this one, it gives you a chance to mobilize and move not just the muscles but the joints in that upper mid back too.
Because I guess for this motion you're coming down, it's a more up and down compression. Whereas this you're going outwards and pulling more against the back. Yeah.
And you will get that stretch along the back side of that part too.
James, do you want to give it a try?
Oh yeah, sure.
I think as an easier stretch that you can do then, what you would do is, this is working on that rotation still, hands together, and then I'm just gonna open up my arms just to get that torso rotation. So it's just an easier stretch that you can do.
Our third most common beginner golf injury is going to be a knee injury, right? So why does this happen? Right, it's like twisting, right?
Yeah, twisting. So for those students, I recommend them to left ankle, and then when they swing like this, they have less pain.
And I'm guessing right now that the knee, different from like the ankle and the hip, is not a place that is as stretchable. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the knee, like James said, is meant to be more of a stable joint. Our hip and ankle are going to be our more mobile joints. And so that's where you want to create more of that movement or torque. It's more of a hinge joint, so it's really good at bending and straightening.
Just like elbow.
Just like the elbow.
Yeah, but this one you can rotate
360 degrees.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The knee does have a little bit of rotation in it, but it's not a lot. And so that's why you want to take advantage of the hip and the ankle for rotation.
Tell us a little bit more about this injury and what we can do to prevent and fix it.
So yeah, that's a great question. So what we want to do to help with the knee pain, we can do some exercises to help with the stability for the knee. And then we can do some exercises to help with the rotation in the hip and the rotation in the ankle. So I can show you a knee exercise.
Sure. So the main thing to
first.
prevent the knee pain is to make sure we get more mobility in the parts that are supposed to be mobile.
You got it.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see the exercise.
Okay, so what you want to do for this exercise is your left leg is going to be your standing leg. okay? I'm focusing on trying to maintain a nice neutral position, a little bit of a knee bend. And then what I'm going to do from here is with my right leg, I'm just going to reach out towards the cones, touching the cones as I'm trying to maintain that stable position. That helps with the stability.
And why do we need the stability?
Just to help support the knee, because it's not meant to be like a rotational joint. To challenge a little bit more, you can always move the cones a bit further away and then reach a little bit further as well.
In terms of stability, this training, what we're doing is we're training us to not rotate our knee, to get this feeling of using our knee with correct muscle support. Is that right?
To help stabilize the knee and to help support the knee.
How do we like have a little bit more mobility on our hip or our ankle so that we don't use our knee?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'll show you the next exercises. So for the hip, a really good exercise to open up the hips is called the hip 90-90.
Hip 90-90?
Hip 90-90. So you're gonna start on sitting like this, and then I'm gonna have your feet supported. The start position is going to be here, where my knees are both at 90 degrees. Okay, so what's nice with this one is on this leg, I'm working on what we call external rotation of the hip. On this one, we're working on internal rotation of the hip. If I bring my knees over to the other side, now it flips. So this one is an external rotation, this one's on internal rotation. And then we can work and rotate
As
side
we're
to
doing
side.
this exercise, are we not also twisting the knee?
Primarily, we're twisting through the hip with this exercise.
So we have to make sure that when we're twisting with our hip, our knee is not also twisting and that it stays as aligned as possible.
That's right. So you're really focusing that movement in the hip here. The knees stay in about that 90 degrees position, so it doesn't really change that much. I would do that for maybe like a minute back and forth, just to loosen up the hips.
And what
You guys
about the
wanna try?
ankles?
So for the ankle, so really good one that you can do for this one is just to encourage a little bit more opening and closing for the arch of the foot. So I'll actually do this one with my shoe off so you can see. So in terms of the mobility for the foot, there's two movements I want to focus on for the rotation. There's what we call pronation, and that's when the arch starts to flatten. Supination is when the arch starts to increase. And so what we want to do for this drill is to try to bring awareness and more movement into that pronation and supination. So I'll set up with my left foot in front, my right foot back, and then what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to turn my hips as I start to flatten, pronate, and then I'll turn my hips as I start to supinate. So I'll work back and forth. Yeah, you can put your hands on your hips if you want, just to help guide the motion.
Personally, I just feel the stretch in the hips
Yeah,
and not so much the stretch in the ankles. Is that okay?
it's not going to be a big stretch feeling in the ankle. You're not going to feel like a big stretch like you would in your hips or like in your legs, for example.
Or is this more of like a strength building exercise or like using the muscle movements there so we don't overstretch?
I'd say it's more of like a mobility exercise. You are trying to get more movement in the foot, in the ankle.
So those were a few of the common golf injuries that beginner golfers make. If you have injury or prevention questions, then make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and comment down below what your injury is, and we're gonna fix it up.